What is up, y'all? My name is Doe, and today I'll be showcasing the new full bore chamber for repeaters, which is basically its new special, and this is pretty freaking nutty. It does a lot of damage, and it cleaves a lot of parts. And on top of that, I'll be giving you guys two builds that I like a lot for the repeaters, and they're actually pretty easy to obtain the materials for, because it doesn't require going to the Heroic Plus patrols, which are the very late game patrols. But anyway, let's go ahead and discuss the full bore chamber itself. Full bore chamber fires a piercing bolt in a line, dealing damage that falls as it travels, empowered. It deals greatly increased damage and pushes the slayer backwards. Now, some of y'all might be saying that special lies, I'm not getting pushed backwards. Well, it's kind of a bug right now, and the way around the bug is to actually swap your barrels from, I believe, swap to Terra, and then swap from Terra to whatever you want to use. And that will let you get pushed backwards. It's a weird bug, but there is a workaround that's pretty easy to do. It's gonna require some diligence to remember to do it. But anyway, this special does an absurd amount of damage if you land it correctly. And the proper way to use it is to try and make it so the point at which you shoot a behemoth, the bolt will travel through the behemoth for the longest amount of time. So for instance, if you're fighting like, I don't know, Rage Tail, you want to shoot from the head to the tail, if you can, because that will give you the most damage possible, since it'll be in the behemoth longer, traveling through it for longer, giving you more cleave damage, and just wrecking havoc on any behemoth you can do that with properly. And for anyone curious, I kind of think that right now the full bore chamber is the best in slot chamber for repeaters, and then second chamber will be Salvo, and then third will be the Marksman currently. Those are the three current chambers, and that's my current ranking. Now, I will say that the Salvo chamber is much more beginner friendly, because all you have to do is point, click, land it, and call it a day. You don't have to worry about like where it enters a behemoth and exits. It's more so just about hitting the behemoth in general. And on top of that, I want to say real quick, if you want to play repeaters, I want y'all to know two mechanics, okay? The first mechanic is called an empowered reload. Stand close to the behemoth and reload. That gives you a ton more damage, and it empowers your abilities, your right click, your Q, all that stuff. You want to do this. And the second thing is to be close enough to the behemoth to where your reticle is red. You want to have a red reticle, because that means you're in the proper distance, you're in the proper range to do the right damage. Otherwise, you will be hitting for like 5 damage if you're in Narnia, okay? You don't want that. It's not fun for anyone, honestly. Not fun for your teammates, not fun for you. So get close to the behemoth and just play repeaters like shotguns is my biggest advice. Okay, so my piece has been said. Now it's time to talk about the builds I have for the repeaters. The first build is going to be one that I like a lot. This build's insanely fun. You got way too much attack speed, and that is the best thing to have on repeaters. Because attack speed makes your attacks faster, it makes your abilities faster to cast, your reloads faster to cast, all of that. It speeds up your animations. It's a good time, trust me. Repeaters with no attack speed are not the best, personally. So I like to have a lot of attack speed, and this build has just that. For my perks, I got +6 Conduit, Evasive Fury, Molten, and for damage, I've also got +6 Predator and Rage Hunter, with +3 Swift in my mobility slot, because you have to have that on repeaters, because currently you cannot change your slots. Maybe that'll change in the future, but right now, that's the way it is. Now, for my gear, I have the repeaters, obviously, and for the repeater customization, my barrel, that's going to depend on the behemoth. Repeaters have this really nice modulation where you can change the barrel out to whatever behemoth you're fighting. So it depends on what you are fighting. For me, if I'm fighting a neutral behemoth, I'll probably take the shock barrel or the blaze barrel, one of the two. If I'm fighting anything else, I will take the barrel that is strong against that behemoth. So against fire, you bring frost. Against shock, you bring terra. Against umbral, you bring radiant. And for all those things, it's vice versa if you're fighting the opposite thing. Now for my chamber, I have full bore chamber, because the video is about full bore chamber, and it's pretty fun. My grip will be Captain's Grip, because this is the best grip for repeaters. This is really good. If you're the only person playing repeaters, you need to bring this grip. If you want to have, for one, more fun, because it gives you attack speed, and for two, if you want to be the best teammate you can be. If you're not the only person playing repeaters, and your teammate is using the Captain's Grip, bring Savage's Grip, you do more damage that way, and it's more fun for you too, because you have the attack speed and you have more damage, so it's a win-win. Now for my prism, I have the Searing Prism. It's the best in slot prism. There really isn't any debating that. But Brilliant is also pretty good if you're fighting Riftstalker or Shroud. So Brilliant Prism is also a really good prism. But you can play whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Go ham. I'm just saying that Searing Prism is probably the best for repeaters. And now my magazine, or my mod, is going to be the Lucky Magazine, because this gives you 24% crit chance if you have 0 bullets in your magazine. Because the way it works is you get 2% critical strike chance for each round missing from the magazine. So having no bullets gives you 24% because, 2 times 12, easy math, quick maths, that's how that works. Now the gear is somewhat beginner friendly. You have almost a full set of Hellion gear. So you have the headpiece, chest piece, and the gloves from Hellion. This is a pretty early behemoth in the game. It can be hard for new players, but it's worth it to kill it because, trust me, it's got the good gear. And for my feet, I have the Stride of Thorns, which is from Koshai. And I'm pretty sure that Koshai is earlier to access than it's ever been before, but I will check the patch notes and put a snippet of text on the screen if that's correct. And for the final piece, I have the Drask's Eye, which is a really good lantern. You get 30% increased attack damage for 6 seconds, and you do a lightning bolt for the hold to cast. So it feels pretty fun to use, pretty good to use. Like this lantern a lot. It's pretty much my go-to lantern in most cases. So give it a whirl if you haven't already. It's a fun time. But this build is super fast-paced, and the whole point is to have attack speed. So you want to maintain your molten orbs, which are those little fireballs on the ground. Those give you attack speed. You want to be dodging attacks, and you want to maintain your Q buff, which is your captain's grip, as much as possible. And if you really want to play this build properly, the best advice I can give is to, first off, never use your abilities unless they're empowered. The only exception is captain's grip, because if you're solo, the buff doesn't matter if it's applying to your teammates because you don't have any. So captain's grip can be used without the empowerment solo, but everything else you want to be empowered. And on top of that, you want to use full bore chamber with as few bullets in the magazine as possible, since Lucky Magazine gives you more crit chance for missing more bullets. So that can make all the difference in the world, because full bore chamber can crit for a pretty hefty amount of damage, and it looks nice seeing the exclamation mark with the damage and the number. But that's just me. I like numbers and I like to do damage, so that's just my advice. Now the second build I'm going to show you is going to be one that is very nice to beginners, and it has the exact same customization for repeaters as the last build, but the gear is a bit different. So in this build, there is no Predator, so getting hit won't really hurt you too much at all. You won't lose damage, you'll just lose health, which is whatever. But this build has Overpower and Rage Hunter as the main sources of damage. Overpower is more damage versus behemoths when you break apart, stagger it, or interrupt the behemoth. And Rage Hunter, you're hunting for the enrage. So once the behemoth enrages, you get more damage, and enrage can be seen as when a behemoth is red. That is mostly the indication for enrage in this game. So that's our damage, but let's go ahead and discuss the attack speed, which comes from the Evasive Fury cell and the Conduit cell. And if you want to, you can swap out the Evasive Fury cell for Molten if you're fighting, say, fire behemoth like Hellion that spawns a ton of fire everywhere and the floor is legit lava. Molten will help you immensely on that fight. I really suggest bringing Molten. It is a godsend on that fight, because Molten gives you 20% attack speed and some odd number of movement speed, as well as fire immunity for 8.5 seconds per orb, and the duration stacks. So it's a good thing. It'll help you survive on fire bosses. But aside from that, this build is composed of the Hellion helmet, Riftstalker chest piece, Nasher gloves, and the Karabakh feet. And everything else is exactly the same from the old build in terms of gear. And that is also the end of this video, guys. If you liked it, leave a like. It helps the channel a lot. If you want to, subscribe to the channel for more content, because that's all I really do here for now. And lastly, or second to last, I do stream on Twitch. It's at OhDough. I'm a very interactive streamer, and that's what I do. I play this game a lot, and I know a lot about the game. And the last thing is, I do have a support credit code. It's just OhDough. Using that helps me out a ton when you make purchases in the Epic Games Store, or to buy Platinum and Dauntless, or anything. So I appreciate anyone that does that. It means a lot to me. And just watching the videos means a lot too. But guys, have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.